Are you minus good at teaching resources for secondary maths? Well, here on Resource Review, we're examining 3 that might add some extra value to your lessons. A book and CD-ROM on data handling skills.
The average boy is taller than the average girl. They're not similar.
A book of mathematical questions.
You have a set of cards that are taken from a book called Thinkers.
And a book that unveils the influence of mathematics in the world around us. See how these 3 resources tally here on today's Resource Review. Joining me to recommend today's resources is Gwen Wood, Secondary Strategy Consultant in Mathematics for Surrey. Joining Gwen on the panel, we have Bob Ansell, Senior Lecturer in Mathematics Education at the University of Northampton. And we also have Jenny Piggott, Director of Cambridge University's Enrich Maths Project. Welcome to you all. So, Gwen, let's begin with discussing data. It's a CD-ROM and booklet. Tell us more about this resource and why you like it.
Finding resources about data is actually quite hard for teachers to do, and there's a lot of real data available here, and it's well presented. It hones in on the importance of discussing the work, and that I like because I think the more chances that we get to discuss aspects of mathematics with pupils, the better the learning quality is going to be.
Well, to see discussing data in action, we visited Queen's Park Community School in the London Borough of Brent, where Deputy Head of Maths, Tom Bauer, and his Year 8 class are using the resource.
And our leaves are 2, 5 and 7.
Today I was using the Smile book and CD-ROM to organise a one-off lesson on data handling for the Year 8 class. Particularly, I was using the Year 8 displaying data section, which involves discussing and justifying graphs. I took the CD-ROM that came with the book and dragged and dropped the graphs onto the interactive whiteboard.
Which of these graphs is the best for answering that question? The height of Year 8 boys and girls are the same.
It's always nice to have a source of data, particularly a source of graphs, and graphs that have been thought about by maths teachers, so that they definitely have a point.
The highest one for the girls is 180, and for the lowest it's 140. Oh yeah. There's a huge difference between them.
The booklet provides a ready resource of graphs designed by maths teachers that make a point, which you can either have online and pull them up onto an interactive whiteboard, or you can make OHPs or photocopy to give to the whole class. This resource provides you with a ready source of both questions to make a point about graphs and the graphs that are relevant.
Join them together in a line here. Is that sensible?
It's not sensible.
Not sensible? Why not?
The resource is something you can call upon to add into a lesson that you've designed.
I'm saying no.
It gave me the questions and it gave me the graphs, but that's not a lesson plan.
All right, gentlemen. Which was
At the moment, you're having to come up with the starter and the plenary yourself, fit those round the lesson and try to make it more interactive.
These and these are at different heights. The average boy...
One of the things that it doesn't do very well is engage the students. All, in fact, of the lessons in there are teacher-led or teacher-led discussions.
In every case, they're lined up in order. What is true? In every
I would use this resource again. I would use it as part of a larger data handling module. If you're prepared to put the time in to turn what's in that booklet into a series of lessons, I think they're well worth using.
Well, what do our panel think? Bob, are you a fan of discussing data?
Yes, I am. I'm very pleased to see a range of real data which is accessible by students in a variety of ways. All too often we find students being given data, being asked to create a graph and not being given the chance to ask a hypothesis, look at a range of data which may be appropriate or may not be appropriate and so on. So it's that aspect which for me is quite important.
Jenny, what are your thoughts?
I think it's a lovely resource. I think one of the problems I have with it is that it doesn't really sell itself terribly well at the front. It's not really clear what exactly is there and how you can use it. And it would have been nice to have a page or two that gave some ideas, because if you're a teacher and you're not very confident, you're turning to something like this to support you. So it's got all that valuable information, but some teachers will not know what to do with it, I think.
I think that's probably true, because it has got such a flexible potential there, and it could be something that a department might, for instance, look at and decide how they're going to use it and develop different ways for using different sections.
All right, thank you all very much. Let's move on to your second choice of resource, Gwen, which is another book called Thinkers. So explain this one to us, and again, what makes it stand out?
Right, a rather different resource here. To start with, it hones in on that hugely important skill of questioning that all teachers need to be able to do efficiently and effectively. Secondly, they're quick, nice questions offered here, but ones that get to the heart of really engaging pupils in the act of thinking. And it's a way forward, I think, for helping teachers develop their own questioning skills.
Well, thank you. Let's see Thinkers in action. We visited Stowmarket High School in Suffolk, where teacher Alison Parish told us what she thought of it.
About straight lines, can we remember anything about them? Today I was using the book Thinkers in order to stimulate the thinking of a Year 10 class. The idea was to challenge them to apply knowledge that they had learned in the previous lesson. Right, on your table you have a set of cards. They're taken from a book called Thinkers. I'd like you to choose one or two to work on, and then we'll feed back to the rest of the class at the end.
Yeah, should we do this?
It's more of a series of questions and style of questioning that takes it into the sort of the realms of how can we challenge the pupil about the content.
We chose this one, which is a parabola which passes through 0.1 and through 1.2 and also through 0.51.
The advantage of having a range of questions in the book is that you can target them from Key Stage 2 to A level, and you can differentiate within your own class according to the ability. The pupils enjoyed it because they were engaged, they were choosing their own mathematics, so that it was partly their task that they had taken ownership of. The book challenged me to think as well. It made me think about how I was asking questions. Was I asking something that there was only one answer to? This actually opens up the style of questions so that pupils can give a range of answers and still feel that they are correct. Okay, that's good. That's a good idea. You need to be fairly confident in using the book as a teacher, because the unexpected may come out of the answers that the pupils actually give. It does actually need you to look through the questions. It's not a book that you can just pick up and offer off the top of your head, but it is actually worth sticking with and doing.
Gwen, the book claims to be suitable for a very wide range of abilities. How are teachers going to cope with that, given that there's no guidance to them about who it's aimed at?
Most teachers would be able to pitch it quite well. The idea is that it's really posing those questions initially. For instance, I can take an example of one of those little sections there, which is called additional conditions. For instance, you might offer a group of pupils, would you like to give me a series of 4 numbers which have a mean of, you can give them a number, and it might be as simple as leaving it at that. Yeah.
Jenny, what did you think of Thinkers?
Well, I think it's dynamite.
Wow, another popular one.
Good.
But for a completely different reason, because all it does is point you in the direction of things. And I would want to use that with lots of teachers working together, thinking about what the issues are, because it's a whole issue about questioning in the classroom to anybody from 5 to 50. It's not an age thing at all. It's about a way of teaching, a way of drawing out understanding and making children think about things.
Bob, what do you think? Is there enough in there as it stands for you to get excited about it?
Oh, there's more than enough in there. I mean, to me, it gets to the heart of mathematics because Mathematics is about asking questions and asking appropriate questions, questions which don't limit the answer, questions which allow for an explosion of ideas, contributions. It allows for particular cases, it allows for generalisation, all those aspects of mathematics which we cherish, they're all in there.
Fantastic. And this issue of it claiming to be suitable right from Key Stage 2 up to A-level and beyond, that doesn't worry you?
Not in the slightest. It means we don't pitch something at an age range. We pitch something at a mathematical level for the time and place that we're working. And pupils will often surprise us with unusual answers or unusual questions, which suddenly spark a different direction or a new idea. That's the joy of it.
All right, now let's move on to the third resource, and that's another book. It's called The Joy of Mathematics. Not a new resource, but clearly you're a fan of it.
I like this one, and I have to say it's been on my shelf for many, many a year, probably since it was first published, and I wouldn't like to be without it.
So
as
what's
a teacher.
in there? What is it?
It has a series of very, very short, interesting articles about aspects of mathematics, really across curricula, the history, certain puzzles, links with science, links with geography, navigation, and it just sparks the imagination. And it delves into areas of mathematics that we deal with every day in a classroom and takes a different dimension for it.
Sounds good. How are you advocating teachers to use this as a resource?
I would say in two different ways. To start with, have it on the shelf in the classroom, and if a pupil comes up with a question or something, refer them to it.
Yeah.
They can explore it for themselves. Or equally, go away, pick it off the shelf and have a look at what you're planning and look at things and think, I can blend that in. That will make a nice puzzle.
So
that would be a nice challenge for those
inspiration
pupils.
for your lessons.
Yes, yes.
OK, well, we've only got time for some brief comments from the panel. Bob, is it on your shelf?
Oh, it has been for a long time. It's a classic. And it's interesting that such a book has an old-fashioned feel about it. If you look at the diagrams in the book, they're some hand-drawn diagrams, relatively old-fashioned. But the pages are wonderful, and they're just so full of ideas. And I agree that by making them in small chunks, you've got an idea there for everybody.
Jenny, to me, another black and white book resource, but do you like it?
Yeah, lots of the problems in there on websites because they're so popular, and so you can pick them up and see nice colourful versions of them if you want. But it also makes you go away. There's some articles there where there's not quite enough information, but you want to go and find out more.
Right.
So some frustrations, but nearly everybody on my team has a copy on their shelves.
Brilliant. Well, thank you all very much. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for today. But to recap, the three resources that we looked at were Discussing Data, CD-ROM and Book from Smile Mathematics, the book Thinkers, published by the Association of Teachers of Mathematics, and finally, The Joy of Mathematics by Theoni Papas. For more information about all of the resources that we've discussed on today's programme, go to our website. It's teachers.tv/resource review, or if you want to, email us, resourcereview@teachers.tv. All that remains for me to do is to say a big thank you to our panel, to Gwen, to Bob and to Jenny. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Resource Review. Bye-bye.